Imagine spending 40 years saving money, skipping vacations, delaying purchases, working overtime, building a retirement portfolio that most people would dream of having. Then retirement finally arrives. You have $1 million. Your house is paid off. Your bills are manageable. Your investments are growing. And yet every single time you spend money, you feel nervous. Every restaurant bill feels too expensive. Every vacation feels irresponsible. Every purchase creates guilt. It sounds crazy, but according to recent retirement research, many retirees actually reach age 90 with more money than they had when they retired because they were simply too afraid to spend it. Think about that. They won the financial game, but never gave themselves permission to enjoy the prize. Today we're uncovering why retirees are afraid to spend money even when they have millions, the surprising psychology behind this fear, and the mistake that causes many retirees to miss some of the best years of their lives. And make sure you stay until the end because the biggest reason has nothing to do with money, investing, or retirement accounts. It's something much deeper. Let's start with a retirement problem that almost nobody talked about 10 years ago but is now becoming one of the biggest retirement concerns in America. Financial experts call it fear of running out, or FORO. Recent retirement surveys show that concerns about healthcare costs, inflation, rising living expenses, and the future of retirement programs continue to make retirees anxious about their financial future. Confidence has slipped compared to previous years, even among people who are already retired. Now think about how strange that is. Many retirees have already done everything right. They saved. They invested. They planned. They retired. Yet they still wake up worried about money. They still check their accounts constantly. They still hesitate before spending. They still wonder if they'll have enough. Imagine a retired engineer named David. He has over $1 million invested. His mortgage is gone. His Social Security covers most of his monthly expenses. Yet every time his wife suggests a vacation, he responds the same way. Maybe next year. Let's wait a little longer. Let's be careful. What if something happens? What if we need the money later? David isn't poor. David is afraid. And that's an important distinction. Because many retirees aren't struggling with a money problem. They're struggling with a fear problem. But here's what's fascinating. The fear often isn't created by retirement. Retirement simply exposes it. Because for 40 years, people receive the same message. Save more. Spend less. Delay gratification. Be responsible. Build your future. And those habits become deeply embedded in the brain. Then one day retirement arrives and suddenly the rules completely change. Now you're supposed to spend the money you've spent decades protecting. Imagine asking someone who has spent 40 years learning how to save to suddenly become comfortable spending. That's like asking a lifelong defensive driver to suddenly become a race car driver overnight. The numbers may say it's safe, but emotionally it feels wrong. This is where many retirees get trapped. Their financial plan says they're fine. Their portfolio says they're fine. Their advisor says they're fine. But their emotions keep telling them something completely different. And the longer this continues, the more powerful the fear becomes. In fact, some retirees become so focused on protecting their money that they forget why they saved it in the first place. But what researchers discovered next may surprise you. Because the people who struggle most with spending aren't always the people with the least money. Sometimes it's exactly the opposite. Many financially successful retirees continue feeling financially insecure. They see their portfolio as a safety blanket. Every dollar spent feels like losing part of that security. Even if their investments continue growing, they focus on the withdrawal rather than the bigger picture. Recent reporting has highlighted that many retirees remain uncomfortable watching savings decline, even when their financial plans are sustainable and healthy. Some even end retirement with more money than they started with because fear prevented them from enjoying it. Imagine a retired teacher who spent 35 years building a nest egg. She retires comfortably. Her investments perform well. Her monthly income is stable. Yet she still buys the cheapest groceries. She still cancels trips. She still avoids experiences she's always wanted. Not because she can't afford them. Because she doesn't feel safe enough to spend. And this creates one of the strangest paradoxes in retirement. A person can be financially secure while emotionally feeling broke. But if you think that's the biggest reason retirees are afraid to spend, wait until you hear what happens next. Because the next factor is so powerful that it affects even retirees who know they have enough money. And once healthcare enters the picture, everything changes. But if you think money is the biggest reason retirees are afraid to spend, think again. Because when researchers ask retirees what they fear most, the answer often isn't a stock market crash. It isn't a recession. It isn't even inflation. It's healthcare. And this is where retirement anxiety becomes much more understandable. Imagine you're 72 years old. You have enough money to live comfortably. Your bills are covered. Your investments are doing fine. Then a friend receives a serious diagnosis. Another friend moves into assisted living. Someone you know suddenly faces enormous medical expenses. Suddenly retirement stops feeling predictable. Suddenly the future feels uncertain. This is one reason healthcare continues to rank among the biggest retirement concerns. People aren't just worried about today's expenses. They're worried about costs they can't see yet. They're worried about problems they can't predict. And when uncertainty increases, spending confidence decreases. That's why many retirees keep asking themselves the same question. What if I need this money later? What if something happens? What if the real emergency hasn't arrived yet? The problem is that this fear can become so powerful that it starts controlling decisions long before any emergency actually exists. A retiree may postpone experiences they can easily afford because they're preparing for a future that may never happen. And that's where the next retirement regret begins. Imagine a retired couple who always dreamed of taking a cruise through Alaska. They talked about it for years. They had the money. They had the time. But every year they delayed the trip. Maybe next summer. Maybe after the market improves. Maybe after we save a little more. Maybe after we feel more comfortable. Then something changed. Health changed. Energy changed. Travel became harder. The trip never happened. This story repeats itself more often than people realize. Research continues to show that many retirees want to spend more on travel and experiences but hesitate because of financial uncertainty and future worries. Yet when retirees look back on life, they rarely regret taking meaningful trips with loved ones. What they often regret are the experiences they kept postponing. The opportunities they assumed would always be available later. And that's where retirement becomes different from every other stage of life. During your working years, time often feels unlimited. Retirement reminds you that it isn't. But here's what makes this even more fascinating. Many retirees who are afraid to spend money aren't actually protecting themselves from poverty. They're protecting themselves from uncertainty. And those are not the same thing. A retiree may have enough money to live comfortably for the rest of their life and still feel financially vulnerable. Why? Because retirement is one of the first times in life when there is no future paycheck coming to rescue a mistake. Every withdrawal feels permanent. Every expense feels meaningful. Every dollar spent feels like a dollar that will never return. And psychologically, that's a very difficult adjustment. Especially for people who spent decades building wealth through discipline and sacrifice. This is where retirement planning becomes less about math and more about behavior. Because the numbers can say one thing while emotions say something completely different. Financial advisors see this all the time. A retiree with a healthy portfolio refuses to spend. A retiree with more than enough income continues living as if every dollar is a crisis. A retiree who achieved financial freedom never actually feels free. And what researchers discovered next may be the most surprising finding of all. Because some retirees become so successful at protecting their money that they accidentally forget the original purpose of money in the first place. And once that happens, retirement can quietly become an endless exercise in preservation instead of enjoyment. The next section reveals the retirement spending paradox that almost nobody talks about. And once you hear it, you'll never look at retirement savings the same way again. And now we come to one of the strangest discoveries in retirement. A discovery that completely changed how many financial planners think about retirement spending. It's called the retirement spending paradox. And once you understand it, you'll never look at retirement the same way again. Imagine two retirees. Both worked hard. Both saved diligently. Both retired comfortably. But their retirements look completely different. The first retiree uses money as a tool. They travel, visit family, enjoy experiences, create memories. They remain responsible, but they understand why they saved in the first place. The second retiree does the opposite. They protect every dollar, delay every trip, avoid every major purchase, constantly worry about future expenses, constantly fear running out. And here's the shocking part. Sometimes the second retiree dies with more money than the first retiree. On paper, that may sound like success, but is it really? Think about it. If someone spends 40 years saving money for retirement, reaches retirement safely, and then never allows themselves to enjoy the benefits of that sacrifice, what exactly was the purpose of all that saving? This is the question retirement experts are asking more often today. Because many retirees aren't struggling financially. They're struggling emotionally. They know they have enough. But they don't feel like they have enough. And that feeling changes everything. Imagine looking back at your life at 85 years old. Do you think your biggest regret will be spending a little too much on a family vacation? Or will it be missing opportunities because you spent years waiting for the perfect moment? Many retirees discover that the experiences they delayed don't become easier later. Travel becomes harder. Energy decreases. Health changes. Friends move away. Loved ones pass away. Opportunities disappear. And that's why some retirement experts now argue that the greatest retirement risk isn't running out of money. It's running out of healthy years while still waiting for permission to enjoy life. This doesn't mean retirees should spend recklessly. That's not the lesson. The lesson is balance. Smart retirees don't spend everything. But they don't spend nothing either. They recognize that money has a purpose beyond account balances and investment statements. Because money itself was never the goal. Freedom was the goal. Time was the goal. Family was the goal. Experiences were the goal. Peace of mind was the goal. Money was simply the tool used to reach those things. And that brings us to the biggest lesson from today's video. If you're retired or approaching retirement, ask yourself a simple question. Are you protecting your money? Or are you protecting your fear? Because those are not the same thing. There is a difference between being financially responsible and being financially trapped. There is a difference between preparing for the future and being unable to enjoy the present. There is a difference between caution and fear. And for many retirees, that difference changes everything. The truth is that retirement is unlike any other stage of life. During your working years, success is often measured by how much you save. During retirement, success may be measured by how well you use what you've saved. Not recklessly. Not carelessly. But intentionally. Purposefully. Meaningfully. The retirees who seem happiest aren't always the wealthiest. They're often the people who found balance. The people who learned how to save when saving mattered. And learned how to enjoy life when enjoying life mattered. So why are retirees afraid to spend money even when they have millions? Because the fear isn't really about money. It's about uncertainty. It's about health. It's about longevity. It's about losing control. It's about the future. But the future will always be uncertain. And if we're not careful, we can spend so much time protecting tomorrow that we accidentally miss today. So let me ask you a question. If you knew your retirement was financially secure, what would you spend more money on right now? Travel? Family? Hobbies? Experiences? Let me know in the comments below. I read every comment and I'd genuinely love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more retirement insights, retirement planning strategies, and financial lessons that can help you make smarter decisions throughout retirement. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself and your family. And I'll see you in the next video.